Hello my dear friends, we are proceeding to RTP discussion, RTP of December 21 exams. So many students requested me to complete the RTP and MTP, two series of MTPs discussion so that they will be in a no position to prepare it properly, so well in advance. So due to that reason I am taking this video. So this is an RTP discussion of November 21 exam for CA Intermediate GST. Okay. And so not good questions, only some quick questions are good and remaining are just repeated questions only that they have given in RTP. And what I am going to do is that I am going to discuss not only the question and the answer but also the relevant provisions related to that. Okay. So first we have some MCQs that are given here, and in that there is a case scenario MCQ. So this case scenario MCQ is there is a strategy for answering this case scenario MCQ. What is that you need to do? First, you need to read the brief of each and every MCQ, because case scenario MCQs means that there will be a paragraph. So based on that paragraph, they will be creating some MCQ. So therefore, you need to read that MCQ first so that you can form an idea about what are the areas which are touched upon. So first, following activities conducted by trustees exempted. So they have given the question on exemptions, and then value of taxable supply, then what is the amount of input tax credit that is available, and then which of the following statements are correct in respect of the trust. So these are the four questions. So now when you read it, you will be able to understand, okay, these are the areas where MCQs are coined, so that you will be spending extra, or you will be like taking extra effort in understanding that. So first, Charitable Trust is registered under section 12AA of the Income Tax Act. The trust conducted a 3-day residential yoga camp among people on the occasion of International Yoga Day for the purpose of advancement of yoga, and charge 7,500 per person inclusive of stay and food. First, section 12AA, we have certain charitable activities provided by a charitable trust is exempted. What are those charitable activities? We have a list of charitable activities. In that we have services by way of advancement of religion, spirituality and yoga is exempted. So therefore advancement of yoga by a charitable trust is exempted. And there is a CBSE circular which says that as a part of yoga, if they provide accommodation service, or if they provide any food or lodging, boarding, etc., everything is exempted, because so that is part and parcel of advancement of yoga. So due to that reason, this entire amount what they are charging, including for the stay and food, is exempted. So this is a charitable trust exemption. So it is exempted. It covers under charitable activities. The trust also conducted programs for the advancement of education of persons aged above 65 years in metro cities. A nominal fee was charged for the same. There is one more point in the charitable activities, that is educational programs or skill development program to physically or mentally traumatized persons, abandoned or homeless children, abandoned, orphaned or homeless children. Okay. In that, prisoners. Then one more point is there, persons over 65 years residing in rural area. Here, where are they located? In metro cities. So when they are located in metro cities, so that is not exempted, it will be taxable. So educational programs over 65 years, but only if they are residing in rural area, that is exempted. But here it is not a charitable activity and it will be taxable. The trust received the following donations during the month of September. Solid Steels Private Limited donated a RO plant to the trust costing 75,000 and displayed its company name in the RO system installed at the premise of the trust as donated by Solid Steels Private Limited, trusted by all. So here, whenever you display a name and that name results in a business advantage to the other person, so that donation is not a conditional, that donation is not an unconditional donation, it is a conditional donation. So in case of a conditional donation, it will become supply under 7(1)(a. It will become supply under section 7(1)(a) because it is deemed to be conditional donation as per the CBIC circular. So there is a CBIC circular in this regard which says that if display of a name leads to any business advantage to the donor, then it is deemed to be a conditional donation and it will be treated as supply. So the donation is a consideration for the purpose of allowing the other person to display the name. Okay. Mr. Prasanna, a lawyer, donated chairs to the trust costing 25,000 and love all is printed on all chairs. So there is no business advantage to the person, correct or not? So therefore it is not a supply. It is not a supply. The following are the details of GST payment made by the firm. GST of rupees 1,75,000 was paid for the purchase of motor vehicle for transportation of needy persons. Seating capacity including driver is 13. So this is inward supply. Okay, they paid GST. 1,75,000 paid for purchase of motor vehicle for transportation of persons. So motor vehicle for transportation of persons capacity does not exceed 13. Okay, including driver is a blocked credit and it is not coming under the exceptions here. So it is not for further supply, not in the business of transportation of passengers, not for imparting driving skills. Therefore, ITC not available in this case. ITC not available in this case. It is a blocked credit. Section 17 subsection 5. So we have motor vehicles. So motor vehicles designed to transport persons. So in that divide into 2, capacity does not exceed 13, capacity exceed 13, capacity exceed 13 is not a block credit, capacity does not exceed 13, that is further divided into 2, that is further supply. And second point, first point is further supply, second point is used in the business of transportation of passengers, and third point is for imparting driving skills. So these three cases ITC is available, other cases ITC is not available. Okay, GST of rupees 2,45,000 was paid for works contract service availed from super builders for construction of trust office building. See, works contract service is a blocked credit, ITC not available. Okay, so works contract service is a blocked credit, ITC not available, and it is not coming under the exception also. Because what are the exceptions with respect to works contract service or any service used for construction of an immovable property or any goods purchased for construction of an immovable property? What are the exceptions? If such expenditure is charged to P&L, is this expenditure charged to P&L? We don't have the information. And then, so this is only for the purpose of recipient. Yes, it is for the purpose of recipient. It is not for the purpose of a builder. And then it is not in relation to plant and machinery. So due to that reason it is not covered. If it is in relation to plant and machinery, it's an exception. Now, Charitable Trust also owns and manages a Gurudwara. It rented the community hall located in the precincts of the Gurudwara. Gurudwara is a religious place. Okay. So first, a religious place which is under the control of a charitable trust. The precincts of the religious place is given on rent. Okay. For what purpose? For marriage function. It is exempted if per day rent is less than 10,000. Here per day rent is less than 10,000. Therefore it is exempted. Whereas if the premises of the religious place, precincts of the religious place is given on rent for shops, and if the rent is less than 10,000 per month, it is exempted. Here how much it is? 10,000 per month, it will be taxable. Why? Less than 10,000 is only exempted. Here it is only 10,000. So that is equal to or greater than 10,000 per month will be taxable. Okay, will be taxable. You can assume that the trust is registered under GST and all the transactions are intrastate only. Conditions for availing ITC are fulfilled subject to above mentioned information. Okay, so now based on the information given above, choose the most appropriate answer for the following questions. Which of the following activities conducted by the trust is exempt from GST? So advancement of yoga is exempted, but advancement of education is not exempted. So option A is the answer. Determine the value of taxable supply in respect of donation. Only one donation is treated as supply, that is 75,000 donation. So 75,000 is the answer. Compute the amount of input tax credit that can be claimed by the trust. Nothing. They cannot take ITC. Only two inward supplies are there. On both the inward supplies, they cannot take ITC. So therefore, it will be nil. Which of the following statement is or are correct under GST law in respect of Gurudwara managed by MM Charitable Trust? Renting of community hall is taxable while renting of commercial shop is exempt. No, reverse. So renting of community hall is exempt while renting of commercial shop will be taxable. Okay, these are the answers for that. Okay. Then determine which of the following independent cases will be deemed as supply even if made without consideration in terms of Schedule 1 of CGST Act, that is Section 71C. What are the activities under 71C? DRIP. D for disposal of business asset on which ITC is availed. R for related party transaction. I for import of services from a related person or another establishment located outside India. P for principal agent transaction, when agent undertakes to make, supply or act on behalf of principal. Okay. So here AB and Associates transfers stock of goods from its branch in Mumbai to Kolkata depot for sale of such goods at depot. Yes, it is supply under section 71C. Supply under section 71C. Mr. Raghuveer, a dealer of air conditioner, permanently transfers the motor vehicle free of cost. ITC on the motor vehicle is blocked. So disposal of business asset on which ITC is availed. Here ITC not availed. So therefore it is not a supply. Therefore it is not a supply. And then Mrs. Riddhi, an employee of Sun Limited, received gift from her employer on the occasion of Diwali worth rupees 21,000. See, when the gift will be considered as supply under 71C, only when the value of the gift, even though employer and employee are treated as related person, but gift by an employer to employee exceeding 50,000 rupees in a financial year is only treated as supply. So in this case, what is the value? What is the value here? So it is only 21,000, correct or not? So it does not exceed 50,000 rupees. So due to that reason, it is also not a supply. So only one activity becomes supply under section 71C. What is that? So only one, first one, that is A. Option A is the answer. Okay. Next, PZY Limited is engaged in manufacturing of motor car. The company paid the following amount of GST to its suppliers against the invoices raised to it. Compute the amount of input tax credit under GST law. General insurance taken on cars manufactured by PZY. So general insurance on cars manufactured. So they are manufacturers. So whether ITC available or not? Yes, ITC available. Buses purchased for safe transportation of employees, capacity exceeds 13, which is not a blocked credit. If the capacity does not exceed 13, that is only block credit. Here it is not a block credit. So life and health insurance for employees under a statutory obligation. Generally life insurance and health insurance is block credit, but when it is under a statutory obligation, ITC is available. Outdoor catering in Diwali Mela organized for employees. So outdoor catering services in Diwali Mela organized. So outdoor catering is a blocked credit. ITC not available. Okay. So therefore ITC available 1 lakh plus 25,000 plus 6,000. So that will be 1,31,000, and we will end up answering 131 lakhs as the answer. But actually here the question you need to read properly. Here the question is ineligible ITC. Ineligible ITC. So only one is ineligible ITC, that is 3,50,000. So when you are reading the MCQ, please be careful with respect to the question. Okay. They are not asking what is the eligible ITC, ineligible ITC. So that is block credit, only 3,50,000. Which of the following statement is or are incorrect under GST law? If the supplier has erroneously declared a value which is more than the actual value of the goods or services. So declared a value which is more than the actual value. Okay. Then so invoice is having a higher value but the actual value is less. So then what a supplier will do? He can issue a credit note for the same. Correct. That's a correct one. That's a true. Okay. Then if the supplier declared some special discount which is offered after the supply, section 15 subsection 3, if the discount is given after supply, okay, and not agreed before at the time of supply, can the credit note be issued? Cannot issue credit note. That's also true. This is also a true statement. If quantity received by the recipient is more than what has been declared in the tax invoice. Okay. So compared to the tax invoice, the quantity received by the recipient is more. Means for the excess quantity, we need to collect the GST, correct? So for that reason, supplier can issue debit note for the same. That is also true. There is no time limit to declare the details of debit note in the return. There is no time limit for debit note, like that we will think. But no, there is no time limit for issuance of debit note is true. But what is the question here? There is no time limit to declare the details of the debit note. That is false. See, once a debit note is issued in the same month, that should be reported in GSTR 1. Accordingly, in GSTR 3B, we need to make the payment of GST on the debit note. For issuance of debit note, there is no time limit. But once a debit note is issued, it should be declared in the same month in which it is issued. Okay. So therefore, 4 is wrong answer. So option C. Then, Miss Pearl is a classical singer. She wants to organize a classical singing function. So she booked an auditorium on 10th August for a total amount of 20,000. She paid 5,000 as advance on that day. The classical singing function was organized on 10th October. The auditorium owner issued invoice to Miss Pearl on 25th November amounting to 20,000. Pearl made balance payment of rupees 15,000 on 30th November. Determine the time of supply in this case. First, she is a classical singer and she wants to organize a classical singing function. So she booked a auditorium on 10th August for a total amount of 20,000. She paid 5,000 as advance. So this what? Goods or service, supply of services. The question is what? Time of supply. First we need to see whether it is supply of goods or supply of service. Who is the supplier here? That auditorium is the supplier and Miss Pearl is the recipient. Understood or not? Miss Pearl is the recipient and that auditorium is the supplier. So now in this background, so the supplier is providing what? Services. So therefore section 13 subsection 2. We need to check whether invoice is given within the due date or not. What is the due date of invoice? 30 days from the date of completion. Here it is not banking and other financial services na. So therefore what is the date of completion of service? The date of completion of service is, so she booked an auditorium on 10th August and the function was organized on 10th October. So from 10th October, whether invoice is given within 30 days. So invoice is given on 25th November. So invoice is not within 30 days. So 10th October, the invoice should be within 30 days. So by 9th November it should be, but here it is 25th November, not within 30 days. So what will be taken as the time of supply? The time of supply will be date of completion or date of payment, whichever is earlier. Date of completion or date of payment, whichever is earlier. First for 5,000 rupees. First in advance is received. For advance, what is the date of completion? So date of completion, when the function was organized 10th October or payment received on 10th August, whichever is earlier. So 10th August will be taken. Whereas for remaining 15,000, date of completion 10th October or date of payment 30th November, whichever is earlier, is 10th October. Therefore, option C. So 10th August for 5,000 and 10th October for 15,000. So we are applying section 13 subsection 2 as the provision in this case. Okay. Then ABC Limited generated e-way bill on 12th February at 14 hours 2 p.m. It used over-dimensional cargo for a distance of 100 kilometers. So what is the validity of the e-way bill? 1 day in case of over-dimensional cargo or multi-mode transportation where at least one leg of the journey involves transportation of goods by vessel. Okay, in that case, 1 day for every 20 kilometers are part. There have already we completed e-way bill concept. So in that I have discussed this. Okay, so therefore, what is the number of kilometers? 100 kilometers divided by 20 equals to 5 days. 5 days. Now, when the e-way bill is generated 12th February, you count from midnight of 12th February to midnight of 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th. Okay, so midnight of 17th will be taken as the validity of this e-way bill because it is a over-dimensional cargo due to that reason. Okay. So always it should be counted at any day, at any given day, at any time. If the e-way bill is generated, we need to count from the midnight of that day to the next day as the validity. Determine in which of the following independent cases e-invoicing is applicable. So up to question number 9 is MCQ. Now question number 10 onwards is the descriptive part. Determine in which of the following independent cases e-invoicing is applicable. See, e-invoicing is applicable when aggregate turnover in any of the preceding financial years from 2017-18 till 2020-21 exceeds 50 crores. Okay, aggregate turnover during any of the financial year from when to when? From 2017-18 to 2020-21 exceeds 50 crores. Then during the current year, for the outward supplies, for B2B supplies, we need to give e-invoice. For B2B supplies, we need to give e-invoice. Okay. However, even if the aggregate turnover exceeds 50 crores during any of the preceding financial years, in few cases, e-invoicing is not applicable. What are those cases where e-invoicing is not applicable? Okay. You can remember it as, okay, set big. Set big, SETBIG. For these people, e-invoicing is not applicable. For these people, e-invoicing is not applicable. What is that? Yes. Yes for SEZ unit. SEZ unit. E for exhibition of film. Exhibition of film in multiplex. Exhibition of film in multiplex. Okay, in multiplex. Then T for transportation of passenger service. T for transportation. If you are into transportation of passenger service, say airlines, etc., they are not required to give e-invoice even if their aggregate turnover exceeds 50 crores. Then B for banking company. Banking company. I for insurance company. I for insurance company. And G for GTA services. So in these 6 cases, e-invoicing is not required. Understood or not? In these 6 cases, e-invoice is not required. So set big. Remember, set big. S for SEZ unit. E for exhibition of film in a multiplex theater. And T for transportation of goods, transportation of passengers. B for banking company, insurance company, and GTA services. So these people, even though the aggregate turnover during previous year exceeds 50 crores, do not require to issue an e-invoice. What is e-invoice? Electronic invoice. What does it mean? So obtaining 3 things for an invoice is known as electronic invoice. What are the 3 things that we will obtain for an invoice? Number 1, QR code. Number 2, invoice reference number. Number 3, digital signature. So a normal invoice with these 3 becomes an invoice. What are those 3? Number 1, QR code. Number 2, digital signature. Invoice reference number. From where we can get it? We can get it from the invoice registration portal. Okay. Now, so here first case, Harnam & Co. dealing in interior decoration. See, supplier of goods or services, both are required to give e-invoice. Okay. But remember, e-invoice is only in case of B2B supplies. Made supplies to various registered and unregistered person in the preceding financial year. The aggregate turnover in the preceding financial year is 60 crores. As it exceeds 50 crores, so therefore they are required to give e-invoice. Then rich and poor bank, only for B2B supplies. Okay. For B2C supplies, whether they need to give a dynamic QR code invoice. There is a concept of dynamic QR code invoice that will not be generated from the invoice registration portal. That will be generated by the registered person So based on the bank gateway, so payment gateways providers will be giving the dynamic QR code. For every payment, one QR code will be generated, okay, for every invoice. So the dynamic QR code should be entered in case of B2C, but only if the aggregate turnover during any preceding financial year exceed 500 crores. Actually here they did not ask that question whether dynamic QR code is required. Suppose if they ask a question, you write. So first case, dynamic QR code is not required in case of B2C supplies because the aggregate turnover during any of the preceding financial year does not exceed 500 crores. Only when it exceeds 500 crores, dynamic QR code is required. Okay. So then, who are not required to give dynamic QR code? So same, except that SCZ unit you remove and replace it with OIDR supplier located outside India. Okay, OET big. OET big. So O alone is the change. That is OIDR supplier located outside India. Then Rich and Poor Bank registered under GST has an aggregate turnover of 75 crores in the preceding financial year. 75 crores in the preceding financial year. So more than 50 crores na? More than 50 crores. So whether they need to give an e-invoice? Not required because banking company is not required to give an e-invoice. Then number 11. Mr. Nikunj, a supplier of goods, pays GST under regular scheme. He is not eligible for any threshold exemption. He has made the following outward taxable supplies in the month of August. Intrastate supplies of goods 6 lakhs, interstate supply of goods 2 lakhs. So we have the liability and the credits. So what is the credit? Intrastate purchase of goods and interstate purchase of goods. So let's see what is the input tax credit that is available. So CGST, SGST, IGST. What is the opening balance of ITC? Opening balance of ITC. This is a regular prototype question. Okay. Opening balance of ITC. This question is related to manner of utilization of credit. So repeatedly these questions were asked in MTPs and RTPs and exam questions also. This is a standard format. So what you need to do is that first you need to take the ITC computation. Okay. Opening balance of ITC. What is the opening balance of ITC? 15, 35, 20. 15,000, 35,000 and 20,000. So we have got the opening balance of input tax credit. For this opening balance of input tax credit, we need to take inward supplies during the month. So what is that? Intrastate purchases. Okay. So intrastate purchases. So what is it? Intrastate purchases value. So intrastate purchases 4 lakhs and rate of GST 9%. So 4 lakhs into 9%, 4 lakhs into 9%, 36,000. So 36,000 CGST, 36,000 SGST. Then interstate purchases. Interstate purchases. So what is it? Interstate purchases 50,000. So 50,000 into what is the rate? 18%. That will be 9,000. Interstate purchases 9,000. Okay. So now this will become the credit, input tax credit. So 15,000 plus 36,000 will come to 51,000 and then 35,000 plus 36,000. So 71,000. So 29,000. This will be taken as the input tax credit. Now what is their liability? So intrastate purchase of goods 4 lakhs. So 4 lakhs into CGST, SGST 9%. So 9%, 36,000. So therefore liability, gross liability if you see 36,000 and then we have interstate sales. What is the interstate supplies? 2 lakhs. So 2 lakhs into 18%. So that is also 36,000. Okay. So now which credit we need to exhaust first? Minus IGST credit utilized. Minus IGST credit utilized. What is that IGST credit? 29,000 IGST credit utilized. So once you utilize this 29,000 of IGST credit, we don't have any extra credit of IGST. Minus CGST credit utilized. Minus CGST credit utilized. How much is the CGST credit that we have? So purchases, so lot of credit we have now. Both inward supplies are exclusive. Minimum GST payable by Nikunj in cash for the month of August. Okay. So now we have CGST credit utilized. What is the CGST credit? 51,000. We can use 36 for payment of 36,000, and out of that 51,000 minus 36,000, so 15,000. So first see the outward supplies correct only na? No, not correct. 6 lakhs into 9%. Sorry here, 54,000. Sorry, this is not 36,000. So 54,000. 6 lakhs. 54,000. Okay, 54,000, 54,000, 36,000. And now we can use, so here 51,000 for payment. So now balance we cannot. Minus SGST credit utilized. Minus SGST credit utilized. What is the SGST credit that is utilized? So 71,000 of credit we have. We can use for payment of 54,000. So still 71,000 minus 54,000. We have 17,000 that can be used for payment here. So that is 7,000 can be used for payment here. So therefore the liability, if you see here, we have to pay 3,000, 0 and 0. Got it? So this will be the net GST payable, minimum net GST payable in cash. And there is a excess credit carried forward 10,000 rupees. It's a simple question, repeatedly asked multiple times in exam. Okay. So it is repeatedly asked multiple times in exam. So you can see our revised book. Okay, you can see our revised book. What I have done is that, so I have given these type of questions in Appendix A. In our updated edition of revised book, I have given this in Appendix A, computation of net GST payable. So in all these type of questions, the same will be there. Okay. So the same liability will be there, opening balance will be there, and some inward supply details. See, so RTP May 18, same na, like this. So multiple questions we have onto the same kind. So this question, see how many times it is repeated. May 18, RTP, then exam 6 marks, MTP. So same. Now whatever we have done in the RTP, the same question it is. Intrastate supply 8 lakhs, interstate supply 3 lakhs, intrastate purchase, opening balance. So this is a question related to manner of utilization of credit, but notes we need to write properly. So what is that notes? So IGST credit should be utilized first before utilizing CGST, SGST credit, then manner of utilization of CGST credit, and then SGST credit. So that, and section 49, remember section 49 subsection 5, that is the reference you need to give. At least you give a reference of section 49, that is okay. Okay. That is with respect to this. Now question number 12. This question number 12 is again a repeated question. Actually this question came in value of supply. So Jaggi Motors, like that one question is there. So I will show you that. That question also I have given in our practice manual. So here if you see value of supply, the same ditto question is there. Say this. Shahil Traders, Jaggi Motors. Price, packing charges, commission, weightment charges, discount for prompt payment received. Okay. So now it's the same way the question is. Same. Only the heading they have changed. And this question is RTP May 18. Then RTP May 21. Already they gave. Na? Then again in RTP November 21 also they gave. You understood here? Again in RTP November 21 also they gave this. So Namo Shankar Limited, a registered supplier in Mumbai, Maharashtra, has supplied goods to Narad Traders and Nandi Motors Limited located in Ahmedabad, Gujarat and Pune respectively. So first one will become intrastate supply. Interstate supply. So Namo Shankar supplier is in Maharashtra, Narad Motors is in Gujarat. Therefore it will be interstate. So IGST liability. Whereas Nandi Motors in Pune, Maharashtra, there will be intrastate. So CGST, SGST liability. Then price of the goods. First Narad traders we will take. So price of the goods 10,000. Packing charges. Packing charges is what? As per section 15 subsection 2 clause C, incidental expenses incurred before or after delivery of the goods should be included in the value. In the present case it is not included in the value, therefore it is to be added. Then commission. So commission also will come under other expenses charged before delivery of the goods. So therefore it is to be included in the value, and in the present case it is not included, so we need to add. Weightment charges. Weightment charges, it is to be included in the value, and in the present case it is not included, so we need to add. Where weightment charges will come again 15(2)(c). So therefore we need to add. Discount for prompt payment received recorded in the invoice. So discount for prompt payment received. So here in this case, when the discount is received for the prompt payment duly recorded in the invoice, so whether it is to be included or to be excluded. So it is to be excluded as per section 15 subsection 3, and in the case it is recorded in the invoice. So 30,000 minus 1,000. So the value will be, so here the value will be 11,000 and here it will be 31,000. And here on 11,000 GST liability, what is the rate of GST that is given? 18%. And whereas in the second case it will be 31,000 into 9% and 9%. Okay, so that is the answer for this question. So this question number 11 and 12 are repeated questions actually. Okay, already they have asked it in multiple attempts, multiple RTPs it was covered. Whereas question number 10 is something new because it is related to e-invoice. And then question number 13, again question number 30 is a new question. So here we need to understand something. This confusion is there for many students. Sir, section 24 talks about compulsory registration. Section 23 talks about who are exempted from registration. I am making exclusively exempted supply. So I am exempted from registration. Now on some inward supply I need to pay GST under RCM. So if you see 24, I need to compulsorily register. But as per 23, I am not required to get registered because I am exempted from registration as I am making exempted supply. So which will override? So section 23 is first. Section 23. If a person is exempted from registration only. Don't apply 24 or 22. So section 23, exempted from registration, override section 24. So section 24 is compulsory registration. Even though a person is compulsorily required to get registered, but section 23 overrides section 24. And section 24 overrides section 22. Even if the aggregate turnover does not exceed threshold limit, once a person is compulsorily required to get registered, they are compulsorily required to get registered irrespective of the threshold limit. Understood or not? So therefore, that is based on this they coined one question. It's a very good question. Examine whether the liability to register compulsorily under section 24 of the CGST Act arises in each of the independent cases mentioned below. Hira, a supplier in Haryana, is exclusively engaged in supply of potatoes produced out of cultivation of his own land within Haryana and also outside India. An agriculturist who is engaged in sale of cultivation out of land is exempted from registration. Okay, and so they are exclusively engaged in supply of potatoes, but they are making interstate supplies. They are making interstate supplies outside Haryana. Generally, when you make interstate supplies, you are required to get registered. But even though there is a person who is compulsorily required to get registered, but section 23 overrides section 24 and they are exempted from registration. Okay, then Anya of Telangana is exclusively engaged in intrastate supply of toys. So first we need to understand what is the threshold limit applicable to this person, Telangana. So we have MMTN. Is it MMTN? Manipur, Mizoram, Tripura, Nagaland? No. So Telangana is not in Manipur, Mizoram, Tripura, Nagaland. Leave it. So if a person is operating in Manipur, Mizoram, Tripura, Nagaland, then the aggregate turnover, if exceeds 10 lakhs, then they are liable to get registered. So that point is not applicable. See, this is registration, the business only in one state. Then if they are operating in use stamp states, then 20 lakhs limit only will be applicable for both goods and service. Are they operating in use stamp? Yes. So what are use stamp states? Uttarakhand, Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh, Telangana, then Meghalaya, Puducherry. So Telangana is there. So therefore the applicable threshold limit, even though they are exclusively engaged in supply of goods, the applicable threshold limit is 20 lakhs, not 40 lakhs. So therefore Anya of Telangana is liable to get registered. Here in this case, liable to get registered. Liable to get registered. So those provisions you need to write properly, okay? So here, exempted from registration. Exempted from registration. So what you need to do is that first you need to clearly remember the provision. So write the provision first and thereafter link the concept to the provision and give the conclusion, okay? So don't forget. So now that, so hardly what we did. So we took 1 hour only and we completed this entire RTP revision. So now you listen to this revision. Now what you know is that the answers already you know. You randomly take the question and arrive at the answer. Write down the answer and then cross check with the answer what is given in the RTP. You will understand what is the mistake that you are making, so that you cannot repeat that. You will not repeat those mistakes in the main exam for that purpose, okay? And whatever queries that you have related to this RTP, you can join the Telegram group. So you can go to Telegram and go to the search and type THARUN'S GST. THARUN'S GST. So you will be finding my Telegram link. Okay, so CA Inter group is there. So join that group and whatever queries you have, you can ask. And even in the comments also, but comments, so I will not be seeing that much regularly. So due to that reason, so please join the Telegram and post your query there. I'll be able to help you out. Okay. This is about the end of RTP discussion.